Hello everyone, welcome. In today's video, I'm actually kind of excited for this one. I get to talk about how to do controlled spam / alternating, but as a beginner. Speaking from experience myself, I literally started from the bottom and now we way up. I call myself a self-taught spammer because I never watched any like tutorial videos, nothing on the sorts. I literally just kind of learned how to do it on my own, just like through sheer like power and brute force. It definitely wasn't the best idea, but now that I wouldn't say mastered it, but now that I'm much more confident in the skill, I can do it very manageably and pretty consistently and effectively. It would be interesting to talk about, my experience and how you guys can also learn how to spam yourself. Also, I should get this out of the way. What do I mean by alternating? If you've seen any clips from like WHIZKID or even some clips from paperguy, that's the alternating we're talking about. Being able to use two hands to control wave and, get your CPS really high, but also, get through like some smaller gaps. And it's actually a pretty useful skill. Not very many, top players are, really tapping in or utilizing this skill, except for a very small few. It's definitely a skill set that I want to see more of in top level play. Yeah, it's pretty helpful and it actually, helps a lot with getting better at this game and, being able to broaden your skill set and your possibility at how much better you can get at this game. Before I even, start about this, why do I get to talk about this? Well, like I said before, I would call myself a self-taught spammer. It all started, I just was like, damn, that sakupen circle spam looks pretty cool. And I like brute forced it, played it in no clip for like hours and got some cohesive looking spams going, but nothing like groundbreaking. It took a while to, get things to really like come together in terms of spamming like that. I want to show you guys how to get better at yourself, because in Linda's video on how to, I think it was controlled cube spamming, I thought that was a really cool video and I want to, give them some very big credit on that. That was a really cool video and very insightful to helping more people get better at the specific skill set. But in their video, they kind of mentioned how that this game is kind of, based on, like one input, right? And it's pretty cool to see, people using like a, that's not what I meant to do. People using like two inputs. Like we got to tap into that more. I agreed with them. We should really start to focus and look towards broadening the skill bounds. And another question you might have is, why is this useful? Like, why the hell would I ever want to learn how to spam with both hands? Obviously, there's a lot of levels that are coming out and being made that obviously utilize spam in some levels. Like we got Quantus processing, Silent Poltergeist is verified. I don't know how many people are gonna be playing that. The infamous level check Steam. There's definitely times to be utilizing it. I want to make a video on literally the bare bone basics and beginnings of it. I'd give very high respect, for Linda and paperguy. They're both very, very good at spam. Do not get me wrong. Much, much better than I am right now. Something I feel like they kind of glossed over is, beginners like myself, because I never really got the compensation or the tutorials on how to do it. I mean, there was that video like 3 years ago with aeonair and UFWM, but I don't know. I feel like that video is kind of outdated. One last disclaimer. I'm not the best spammer at all, but since a lot of people be asking me in my streams, like, how am I so good at spam or how do you do it? I want to, just make this video talking about it. I'll have some stuff on screen to, show like, yes, I can spam. All right, here, let me see if I got this going. All right, there we go. So that obviously could have been much better, but that was my first clearance of the wave. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want to show you guys how to do, like. And I'll go over this in a few seconds on, like starting out and whatnot, but, that's an example of, what I want everyone to be more capable of doing and not scared of trying. All right, so first thing we should be talking about is different playing positions. So obviously we have, the good old Sayo device here. I'm currently using the Wooting ADHE, and this has made my spamming, I think, a lot more better, more consistent. I basically did learn how to spam with the Sayo device, so I'll definitely be using that in this video to show you guys, different positions. And by positions, I mean, like how to orient your keyboard. If that helps you play better, or like which keys you should be using. So we'll be going over that in a second. If you're on keyboard and you want to learn how to spam, I would recommend playing on two different sides of the keyboard. So if this happens to be like a key over here, left control maybe, I think it'd help more, with getting into the groove and feeling, the smoothness of it instead of, it being janky with two keys right next to each other. That doesn't really help. I know I'm using my right control key. I gotta stop doing that. I would recommend playing over here because, yeah, even for me, it does feel better. I would use my W key instead, if I wasn't doing any serious wave spams. Like Frostbeard, when I do the wave spam at 23, I usually have my hand over here because that's a pretty important, you know, spam to do. But if we're talking like cube spam or UFO spam, that doesn't have to be that precise. So I would just use my W key because it doesn't matter how long I'm holding it for or clicking. I don't know if you can really see, but I have these two keys, but I took off the keycaps just so I could have this on its own, you know, in order to, you know, feel more in control. That's how I'd recommend setting it up on your keyboard. You know, have it at least separate, you got all the space to work with. I highly recommend you using that. All right, so secondly, for the Sayo device, which I know some of you have, and what paperguy has, you actually have no choice really but to be playing with either two keys next to each other or the two keys on either side. I use both keys on either side of it. It gets weird when you're spamming with two keys next to each other. Like your fingers could overlap, or you could slip off and hit something else. So this key right here, it's disabled for me, so I don't have to worry about, you know, misclicking something. But yeah, that's just my setup for the Sayo device, and you know, as we can see, yeah, I'm still warmed up with it. I haven't used my Sayo device in a few days. That is my small demonstration, you know, with the Sayo device spamming. Something else I want to talk about, so that's my right control key. The reason it keeps pressing play is because I have it binded to my space bar. My right control key and my up arrow key, they were both binded to the up arrow key. The problem with that is, if you're not consistent enough with spamming, is that these will actually overlap and cancel each other out. Okay, so here's a perfect example. So right over here, that keycap is taken off. That is my page down key, which is actually also binded to my up arrow key. So watch this. If I press my up arrow key, right, and then I press this, it's gonna release because I don't know. Okay, so starting out, you are not required to be ambidextrous, all right? If you're watching this video as a bare bone beginner like I used to be, left-handed skill set not required in the slightest, guys, I promise. So yeah, if you're, you know, worried about that, you know, you do not need the spam gene, nor do you need to be exceptionally talented at your left hand. I want to make sure everyone has a fair chance at learning something like this. Practice makes perfect, you guys. You're not gonna be good at spam at the very beginning, and you gotta accept that. All right, so something I feel like not a lot of people go over when they're talking about learning how to alternate or spam consistently is being able to even click consistently in the first place. Real like consistently clicking. So what I mean by that is something like this. So like a nice long corridor like this, like similar to the one in like Cosmos. Something like this I struggled with in the beginning, and then once I got better at this, then I was able to, you know, start learning how to alternate in faster fashion. Something like that I think is really important to be getting good at before you even attempt to learn how to alternate in different directions. This is really important to learn how to do, and I highly advise spending time learning how to do something like this. You know, faster speeds, slower speeds, whatever floats your boat, but being able to just click consistently, because this is very, very important. Clicking consistently like this. Well, yeah, I can do it easier on faster speeds, but that's what I'm talking about. Another good one, grains of sand. This doesn't help entirely for like your wave control, but it helps a lot, you know, with test your endurance of it. Now, this helps a lot in my opinion with what I call weird movements. So I'm gonna show you on screen what I think classifies as a weird movement with the wave. So something along the lines of that, like your clicks are, you know, out of sync, they're not very consistent with one another, they're off pace, something like that. And that's what clicking inconsistency with alternating hands helps a lot with. So now after you become, you know, a little more talented or at least more confident in your abilities at doing that, then what we can do is start doing some like open air practice and just kind of being able to like free ball your spamming. I made a nice little level for this. This is what a good example is. Stuff like that, you know, as you can see off on the left side right there, it's obviously off pace because it's giving that like weird mountain shape. It's not giving that like perfect zigzag. And this will also help you, you know, bring up CPS a little bit. I'm guessing a lot of you are going to have CPS in the beginning looking like at least like 10, 11, 12. But then, you know, with more practice, you can reach like 15 or something. What also can help is if you do a corridor too. Like a simple corridor like this, nothing crazy, like a 1-block corridor, but you know, it's just some free ball practice. But yeah, this is the best way to, you know, get started out with getting up your consistency, your CPS, also, you know, making sure that your clicks aren't off pace with one another. All right, so right now I just set up a little point of view camera right here. Sorry if the camera angle is a little bit bad. I just tried for like 10 minutes trying to get a good angle, but it's kind of hard with the way I position my hands. So now the next key step is learning how to alternate, but in an ascending form or a descending form. Now, this was one of the hardest things I had to learn about this for a few reasons, mainly because it was kind of hard to control my left arm in a way that allowed me to make movements that were going up and down. I still have no dexterity in my left hand, by the way. This is literally just from practicing. When you're going up and down, your CPS doesn't really change that much, honestly. Like, it'll maybe vary by like 1 or 2 CPS in total. So what's happening is when you're coming down, your hands are staying in contact with the keys for less time, but your CPS is remaining consistent. You can hear when I'm coming down, my clicks are quieter. That's because I'm not like full on clicking yet. But when I'm going up, you can hear that I'm putting a little more pressure on my keys. And also, like, when you're clicking these keys, I know you guys have seen like whizkid do spam. You don't have to click that hard, I promise you. Like, I'm not slamming my keyboard. Like, so this is my fast spam, and then when I take off my left hand, that's a pretty normal sounding click, right? I'm not like it just sounds loud because you're doing like 2 clicks at once. Anyways, going back to it, like, you're putting less pressure on the keys when you're going down, but then when you're going back up, what you're doing, it's kind of like walking. The difference between walking and running is that when you're running, there's at least like one point in time where neither of your feet are in contact with the ground. But the difference with walking is you should have at least 1 foot in contact with the ground. So that's kind of similar to how it is when you're going up. It's almost like your key is like, you're like swapping hands. You're going like that. It's not like a click. You're like swapping out. So like when one key is released, you're pressing the other key. It's not like that exactly, because if you do that verbatim the way I said that, you're gonna get some weird movements like that. There's more time in between each click when you're coming down. Yeah, also look at my CPS. It's not changing very much, and I'm clearly changing directions. This should be a much more universal talent, you know, among players. Like, this shouldn't be like a gate-kept thing. All right, moment of truth. Let's see how I do. 9 deaths? Okay. I've done better. I've done like 6. I know I purposely didn't talk about speed hack that much because it only helps you so much. Even to this day, like, speed hack, it doesn't help me all that much. Because you don't want to like spam like this in speed hack. Like, it gives like an unrealistic standard of what your thing should be looking like. That's why I don't really recommend speed hack for the learning curve of this whole thing. But yeah, so that's just my 2 cents on this whole thing. My goal is just to kind of help you guys get better at this, and I don't want this to be a gate-kept thing, guys. Like, there's no gene in this. Like, I learned from scratch. I don't care how bad your devices or anything. And I did this whole thing without CBF. This is without CBF. So, you know, there isn't like any gate-kept mod that you need. I think I'll upload these for you guys so you can try them on my profile. This is me, so you can come over and check these out if you want, I guess. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll be reading every comment, so if you have any suggestions or corrections you want to make, or even talking from your own experiences, I will be more than happy to, you know, read those and give some feedback or take your feedback in that sense. You know, I hope you guys learned a thing or two in this video, and hope you guys feel more confident about taking the first steps to learning alternating and spam like this. And I am done here today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hope you all take care.